believe in mind reading? You do? Well, you know, a lot of people don't. I'm not sure if I know it exists because there's no evidence to show that we could actually read minds. But in a second, I'm going to see if my mind can connect to your mind in a certain way. But before we begin, I'll tell you what, do me a favor. I want you to shuffle this deck. Okay? And when you're done, do me another favor and place the deck right there, square it up, good, and cut the deck once. That's right, place that there, and then finish the cut. Okay, great. So you've shuffled, and you've cut the deck once. I'm going to ask you to form an image in your mind of one playing card. Maybe you'll start with the color, because it could be black or red. If it's black, for instance, it might be clubs or spades. If it's red, it might be hearts or diamonds. Once you hone in on a color and a suit, I want you to hone in on a value. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. Think of one card, and it's not only important to think about it, but you want to visualize it. See it in your mind's eye as vividly as you can. I'm going to ask you to send me that thought almost like you would if you said it out loud with a sound wave. Almost like a sound wave from your brain, a sound wave that cannot be heard. All right? Send it to me in your mind. Visualize it. Really do it. And I'm going to concentrate. And I'm going to see if I can actually find the card. And I might actually have to hone in on a couple of cards. Could be one of these cards. I feel like it probably is one of these cards. I'm not sure yet. Hone in. I'm going to hone in on one card. You know, it could be this one. I don't know why, but hone in on the card. Send it to me. Send it to me. I don't think it's that one. I don't think it's that one. You know what? I think this could be the card. Let me ask you, what was the color of your card? Black. Okay. What was the suit? Club or spade? Club? Okay. What was the value? The 7 of clubs? Let's see how close I came. See, the thing is, you're the sender and I'm the receiver. You tried to send your thought, but I'm not so good at picking up thoughts. I'm not the best receiver. So let's do it the other way around. Okay, so this time I'm going to think of a card and I'm going to be the sender and I want you to be the receiver because obviously I'm not that great at receiving the message. Okay. In fact, let me make it a little more difficult. I'll think of 2 cards. What the heck? I'll go on a limb. Well, heck, I can think of 3, 4, 5. I don't think I can remember 5 as easily. Let's try 4. That's a good number. So I'm going to think of 4 cards. 4 cards. And I'm going to see if I can send you that thought. Okay? And take the deck in your hand. Good. And do me a favor. Deal cards. Start with 1. Just keep dealing in the same pile. Good. And just deal cards one at a time to the table. And I want you to stop anytime you want. In fact, you can deal from the bottom or the middle too. It doesn't matter. Yeah, maybe deal a couple from the bottom or middle if you want. It doesn't. You don't have to. I mean, actually, if you deal from the top, it saves a little time. But so I want you to deal cards from the top or middle or bottom. It doesn't matter. And stop anytime you want. Okay. Now, are you good? You're good there? Okay. Put the rest of the deck aside. We don't need it. So do me a favor and pick up those cards. And this time, deal cards into 1, 2, 3, 4 piles. Deal from the top. That just saves time. So deal cards and continue again dealing on top of those. Just deal cards until you run out of cards. Now I'm thinking of my card. I'm hoping I'm a better sender than a receiver because obviously I didn't do such a great job receiving your thought. I'm going to send you my thoughts. In fact, I already did. Somehow, hopefully, we ended up with the cards I'm thinking of. You found them, hopefully. Do me a favor, point to any pile. That pile. turn over that top card of that pile. The ace of diamonds. Exactly. That's one of the cards I was thinking of. Uncanny, right? You look a little skeptical. Well, you know, you have a right to be skeptical because, you know, how do you know I'm telling the truth? I could have said any card. I could have said, oh yeah, I thought of that card. Doesn't matter which one you turned over. So to show you I'm not lying, to show you that I'm actually telling the truth, turn over the other 3 cards. I was thinking of the 4 aces, and somehow you found them. So obviously you're a very good receiver. Okay, so this is an easy trick. It's mostly presentation. And the original version has been around for years. This particular version, I added some psychological subtleties, okay, that make it a lot stronger in my opinion. So the way to do this, before you do the trick, you have to set up secretly, in private of course, and generally I set up the 4 aces by alternating their order, black, red, black, red. You don't have to, but I like to, it looks pretty. So you take the 4 aces, then you take the top half of the deck and you divide that in half as well, like that. And that's where you put the 4 aces, face down of course, but they all go together in the middle of the top half of the deck. Okay? So just to show you where they are, by spreading them, they're in the middle of the upper portion or upper half of the deck. And you're all set to go. Put the cards in the box. Okay? So you've prepared the deck like that. Now what makes this convincing is that, excuse me, is that they get to shuffle and cut the deck once. You don't tell them to do it once, but the beauty of a shuffle is that it doesn't really shuffle the cards all that much when you do it one time. Now, if you shuffle the deck twice or 3 times, it makes it harder for you. That's why you want them to shuffle it only once. And to control this, as they're finishing the shuffle, you see now, after you're done shuffling, leave the deck squared on the table. Okay, so they do that. And now, do me a favor, take the top half and place it there so you have them cut the deck. Now, why does this trick work after they shuffle? Well, again, if they shuffle the deck only once, it doesn't shuffle the deck that much, right? And when they cut it, that only changes the cyclic order. That doesn't mix it at all, right? So, but it appears to be fair because they shuffled and they cut. But because the aces were together in the beginning, not only are they not going to be that mixed up, they might have a couple of cards between them, if that. But remember when I said place it in the middle of the top half? The reason I want you to set it up that way is that by the time they're done with the shuffle, when they cut, it will increase the likelihood that the aces are closer to the top of the deck, because that's where you want them. That's where you want the aces. You want them at the top of the deck before you have them deal the cards. So remember, you're doing all of this under guise of having them think of a card. So you say, after they shuffle and cut, you say, now think of one card, any card at all. They think of one. It doesn't matter what it is. Let's say they thought of the 5 of hearts, okay? So you pick up the deck and you hold it toward yourself. So I'm looking at this right now. And I thumb through the cards. Now remember, you don't do this facing them. This is facing you. They don't see these cards. So you run through and you look for the aces. Now you know the aces are going to be together, or at least close to each other, depending on how they shuffle them. So in this case, I shuffled it pretty thoroughly you'll notice that there are two cards among the aces, two different cards, the 4 and the 6. How you perform essentially depends on the order of these cards, how many cards are in between the aces. So what I do, my ultimate goal is to get the 4 aces together on top of the deck without any cards in between. So how do I get rid of the 4 and the 6 in this case? Okay? In your case, it might be different depending on how they shuffle. But in this case, I have a 4 and a 6. How do I get rid of them without looking suspicious? Well, that's why I pretend that I'm trying to have them send me their thought. So remember, with the cards toward me, they don't know that I'm looking at 4 aces very close to each other. Remember that. You're a step ahead. They have no reason to suspect anything just yet. My goal is to remove the 4 and the 6 in this case. So I come to the aces and I pretend I'm struggling with the thought. Boy, I'm trying to receive the message. What card did they think of? That's what I want them to think I'm thinking. So what I do is I will up jog. In this case, you can end it a number of ways, but I'll up jog the 4 and I'll up jog the 6. This is how it looks sort of from my angle. Not quite from my angle, but you get the point. Okay? But they don't know what cards I'm sticking up, right? So now what I'll do, I'll even do a third card, and I'll up jog the 8 of clubs. But instead of completely up jogging it, I will cut the deck. Now remember, you don't do this face up. I'm cutting the deck because ultimately I want the aces on top. Okay? But I continue to up jog the 8. Now remember, all they're seeing is this. And I have every reason, I have a logical reason for cutting the cards. All they think I'm doing is removing some random cards. They don't know what I'm up to yet. In doing this action, I have just placed the aces on top of the deck of cards. And when I say top, that's on top of the face-down deck. But I don't bring any attention to the deck. I casually set the deck aside. I bring all the attention to these cards. Remember, in Magic, it's important to emphasize, to treat the unimportant as important, and vice versa. Now, in this case, I'm treating the unimportant as important. These are 3 cards. It doesn't matter what they are, but I have a justification because I'm trying to hone in on the one card they thought of. So, I'm looking at these and I'm pretending to have trouble. Oh no, that's not the card. Oh, maybe it is. Geez, I don't know what to get rid of. Send me your thought. You must be a very good sender. I hope I'm a good receiver. Oh, here we go. Okay, you know what? I don't think it's these. Now remember, it doesn't matter what these cards are. These are the cards that happen to be in between the aces, at least these 2, okay? So, you're fully justified in removing 2 because you're trying to hone in on their thought, right? Then, remember, you want the aces to remain on top of a face-down deck. So very casually set these aside and casually plop the rest of the deck on top so as not to disrupt the order of the aces on top, right? So now, through completely justified actions, you're holding 1 card, and through completely justified actions, you've cut the 4 aces to the top of the deck. You bring all the attention on that 1 card that you feel is their card. So they name their card. Now let's say they were thinking of the 5 of hearts. So they say, and you say, what was the card you were thinking of? They'll say 5 of hearts. You say, oh, well, you know what? I came close because my card is red and my card is only 1 suit off. Roughly, the other red suit is the heart. So I kind of came close, but you know what? I'm not that good of a receiver, not as good as I thought I was. Okay? So listen to the patter. The patter is very important here. So let's say they said the card they thought of was the 4 of spades, right? Then in that case, you take advantage of any coincidence and you say, 4 of spades, boy, I came close. Look, a 4. I knew it was a 4. I just got the color and the suit wrong, but I knew it was a 4. So you could say that. Let's say their card was the 8 of diamonds. Now in this case, the 8 of diamonds would work out fairly well with patter, because then you'd say, 8 of diamonds, interesting, because I was sort of thinking 8 or 4, 8 or 4, but I ended up with the 4, the diamonds, the same suit. I knew you'd select the diamond, and if you double 4, that makes 8. So do you see what I'm saying? Always try to take advantage of whatever card they say. Every now and then, they might actually think of the very card that you're holding. Let's say that they said the 4 of diamonds. You would confidently say, wow, out of all those cards, you were thinking of the 4 of diamonds. So was I. You sent me your thought. So in other words, take advantage of these coincidences any way you can. This trick takes a little improvisation, but you get the point. So the overwhelming majority of the time, you're not gonna have the same card they thought of. So let's say they said the 5. Just say, oh look, I was only 1 off and a suit off, but still pretty close, but I'm not the best receiver, right? So let's try to reverse it. I'll tell you what, you try to read my mind. I'll be the sender and you be the receiver. Now this time you take that, whatever the card was, turn it face down, very casually plop the rest of the deck on top and say, you know, that didn't work out so well, but I want you to be the receiver this time. So do me a favor, take the deck. Now at this point, remember, the 4 aces are on the top of the deck. It's all ready to go. So when they deal the cards to the table, remember, don't tell them to say stop don't tell them to stop anywhere just yet. Here's why. Tell them, you hand the deck to them, and you say, deal the cards to the table in one pile. Just start dealing cards. Now, after they get safely past the 4 aces, remember, those are the 4 aces. After they deal safely past the 4 aces, and they don't know they're aces, then say, now you can stop anytime you want, and you know what? Also, you can deal from the bottom, or the middle, or the top. That way they'll remember that, oh my God, I could have dealt from the bottom, I could have taken one from the middle, of course, the top, it didn't matter. He told me I could stop anywhere I want. Now that subtlety in this case is Mac King's, the Las Vegas magician. I don't know if he got the idea from somebody else, but anyway, it was Matt King's idea to say, now you could take it from the bottom or the middle or whatever. Okay, and the other psychological subtleties are mine that I think make this strong is that, so they stop anywhere they want, okay? They put aside the deck, and then you have them pick up the cards again. Now remember, the aces are on the bottom. So when they deal 4 piles, like this, well, the last 4 cards they deal will always be the aces, which will end up on top, even if it's not an even situation where they end up at the end. You'll see what I mean in a second. So have them deal the cards into 4 piles, and then say, now, you know, deal from the top. Just, I want you to save time. Just to save time, deal from the top. They'll always accept this, because you gave them so much freedom with the first deal, they'll trust you on the second deal that you're telling the truth. Because you don't want them to start dealing from the bottom and the middle in this case, because you must end up, the last 4 cards they deal, watch, that's an ace, that's an ace, that's an ace, and this is an ace. See what I mean? So, these are the 4 aces, but they don't know that. Say, now, you probably are a better receiver. To build this up theatrically, you want to say, now, point to one of the piles. They point to one. Let's say they point to this one. Tell them to turn the top card over and say, yep, that was one of the cards I was thinking of. Now that might get a groan or a laugh because obviously you could say anything regardless of the card. But then say, you know, just to show you that I was telling the truth all along, turn up the other 3 cards. And then at this point, of course, when they turn up these cards, they absolutely can't believe how they could possibly have found the 4 aces, the 4 cards you were thinking of. Remember, in this trick, you don't have to use the 4 aces. You could use another 4 of a kind. Maybe you want to use 4 kings, 4 queens, 4 threes, whatever 4 cards. Make sure it's a 4 of a kind. All right? And let's say you want to do a poker-themed trick. You don't have to use 4 piles. You could set it up so you use 5 cards that you want to force. And by force, I mean you force them to select these cards, basically. You could use 5 cards. Let's say you want to use a royal flush. The 10, jack, queen, king, and ace of hearts. In that case, you would take those 5 cards, the royal flush, and you would do the same thing at the very beginning where you take the top half of the deck and you set them up, just as you did the aces in this trick. Set up everything the same way except those 5 cards, the royal flush, except at the very end, you'll end up basically with 5 piles, and then when you turn up the 5 cards, or when they turn up the 5 cards, it's actually the royal flush. You could do that as well. So be creative with this trick. Come up with whatever pattern you want. If you want to do an ace trick, I think that's really cool because it's a visual thing. A lot of people like ace tricks. They're popular. Or do maybe a poker theme with 5 cards. That's fine too. But just remember, this trick is mostly presentation, and you want a justification for removing the cards that are between the aces. That part will change from performance to performance. Just remember how to set it up, increasing your likelihood that the 4 of a kind, the aces, or whatever cards you use, will be together mostly. Then it's simply a matter of removing the cards between them and using your patter and your personality to justify removing those cards. Go over this video again, look at the presentation, to see how I did it in the presentation, and then go over the explanation again so you have a thorough understanding of how to present this trick. You'll sort of understand as you practice it. From time to time, it'll change each time. You have to improvise a little bit. But it is a foolproof trick. It works the same each time. Just make sure that when you're removing those X cards, the different cards, when you're up-jogging them, make sure you up-jog whatever cards are in between the aces, and then maybe one of the cards to the left of the ace, and then you have every justification for cutting the deck at that point, because they think that you're focusing on these cards. They're not paying attention to the fact that you just cut the aces to the top. So, if you have any questions, email me at tom@intervalmagic.com. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for watching and or listening to this interval of magic. If you enjoyed it and want to see more like it, along with a variety of other great magic-related content, please help support my work in one of 2 ways. Follow and endorse me on rockfin.com/intervalmagic, or become a Patreon patron at patreon.com/tominterval. Also, please like and share this, subscribe to my Interval Magic YouTube channel, and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter @intervalmagic. Until then, may your intervals be happy, peaceful, and magical.